As you said, I'm Devin Wright, undergraduate student here pursuing my bachelor's degree in computer science and systems. I'm here today to share with you my work I did with a fellow student on privacy preserving text classification. This work was done under the mentorship of Dr. Martine Decouk and Dr. Anderson Nascimento. This was also supported by the Mary Gates Endowment Scholarship. So, what is text classification? Well, text classification refers to the identification or labeling of data that can be interpreted as text. So that text could go into a text classification model, and all that is machine learning or artificial intelligence that will use functions to help determine which category best describes the text. So these models have been around for many years, but as time progresses, they continue to advance and become more and more prominent in our society. So you may be familiar with some applications of text classification, even if you didn't realize that text classification was being used. For instance, spam. I'm sure all of you have received a spam email before. Your email actually goes into a machine learning model, and that will categorize the email as spam or not. That will determine which inbox your email should go into. Alternatively, you might want to know whether an author of a text is suicidal or not, or if a social media post contains hate speech. As you can see, that there's various applications to these text classifications, and under certain circumstances, you might have data that contains private information due to sensitive contents. So, why is that? That's because machine learning needs to see your data. So if you have you have information on your email or text message that contains private information that you don't want anyone to know about, but you need to classify it, the machine learning model still needs to see your data. So it needs to have access to your data, and that means some other entity will have access to your data and will own your data. So what we sought out to do was to find a solution that will let us benefit from the utility of text classification without the repercussions or the privacy concerns that come from the text classification itself. So what we did is we used a subfield of cryptography called secure multi-party computation. What that is in essence you have two or more parties communicating back and forth using encrypted data, and they'll do computations over that encrypted data and send and at the end you'll get the result, but the point of the encryption is to keep the inputs private, so no information is leaked about the inputs. So our encryption technique is something called secret shares. That's a cryptographic transformation that takes the original data, splits it into shares such that no information is leaked about the original data, but you can still do computations over that data and as if they're the actual data. So on the board you can see there's additions and multiplications. We know how to securely do additions and multiplications over these shares, and we can comprise more functions with these additions and multiplications. And as I said earlier, machine learning is just functions. So if you can break down the machine learning models into functions, then we can, into circuits of additions and multiplications, we can recreate the functions in a provably secure way through these secure additions and multiplications. So the first step is to do that, to break down all of our data into shares so we can use these functions. So we use the SemiVal 2018 hate speech data, which contained 10,000 tweets of 10,000 tweets. It was a binary classification. It was either yes or no, this tweet had hate speech against women or immigrants in it. And so if you consider Alice has the tweet. She considers this private, doesn't want anyone to know. Bob has a text classification model. He doesn't want to reveal anything about how he's classifying these tweets. And also, if you don't consider that private, it can leak information about what words are actually in Alice's text. So we had to split both Alice's text or tweet and Bob's model into shares. From there, we take the shares. We have to do secure feature extraction. So if you consider Bob has keywords that will help his model determine whether or not this tweet has hate speech or not. But he doesn't want to reveal those words, and Alice doesn't want to reveal her tweets. So they have to use additions and multiplications over the shares that we just split up and extract the vector or the features, so the words that are in Alice's tweet without revealing any of those words. So we recreated a secure equality test that will output a secret shared vector of ones or zeros, one meaning the word is in, the Bob is looking for is in the tweet, a zero otherwise. And so this vector is shares, so far no information is leaked. We then created a secure classification that will take in that vector, but we had to actually make that secure, so we took a logistic regression model and an add-a-boost model, broke it down into its multiplications and additions, and then inputted the feature vector that we just extracted. From there, it just goes through the circuits of additions and multiplications over the shares, so nothing has been leaked. And at the end, you get a secret share of the class label. So in our case, whether the tweet was hate speech or not, but it's also secret shared. So from there, you can recombine them and recover the class. And so the only thing we've learned is the class of the tweet. So here are our results. You can see that we had a model, an add-a-boost model, that did perform 74.4% accuracy. It took 28.3 seconds to run. Alternatively, you could, if you're willing to sacrifice a little of accuracy, you can get it down to 5.3 seconds. You may be wondering, 28 seconds, 5 seconds, that seems like a long time to classify one tweet. What if you had many tweets you need to do? Well, there's a computational cost that's associated with privacy, so the higher the cost, the longer the running time. I also like to point out that the only other existing method took 19 minutes to classify a tweet. So, in conclusion, we developed the first provably secure text classification. To do so, we had to create protocols for the feature extraction and the secure classification. We implemented all of this in links, so if you get bored after this, you can go, it's an open repository, you can go play with it. We demonstrated all of this with real data, so the semi-val 2018 HTeach data, and we were 2 orders of magnitude faster than anything that was done before. I also like to mention that we have a paper under review right now for NeurIPS, which is a prestigious conference. So with that, thank you. If you have any questions about my presentation or our group in general, feel free to email me at writed@uw.edu. Thank you.